America's ideal daughter was Maureen McCormick. Millions watched her as Marcia Brady for 5 years. However, her true story started in 1974 when the cameras stopped rolling. By the age of 20, she had 3 abortions. She exchanged narcotics for her body. Her parents almost called the police on their own daughter because things got that nasty. She kept quiet about what actually transpired for decades. She is finally speaking the truth at the age of 68, and it is very different from the innocent picture we all thought she had. On August 5, 1956, Maureen McCormick was born in Encino, California. Her life was full of secrets and confusion from the beginning. She was the 4th child of Irene, a woman dealing with personal issues, and Richard, a schoolteacher. Upon initial observation, the McCormicks appeared to be a contented Catholic family consisting of 3 elder brothers, Michael, Dennis, and Kevin. However, conditions within their house were far from ideal. Because to her mother's turbulent past and erratic moods, life was precarious. Maureen felt disoriented and unhappy because of the pressure to conceal their family's issues, particularly in a strict religious atmosphere. Her early years profoundly influenced her and laid the groundwork for the difficulties she would encounter later in life. Everything changed for Maureen when she was 6 years old. The Baby Miss San Fernando Valley pageant was won by her. This was not merely a minor regional title. It was the event that thrust her into the public eye and lifted her out of the shadows of her dysfunctional household. She immediately caught the attention of Pat Domigan, a talent agent. He thought she had what it took to be a celebrity. Soon, Maureen was entering the entertainment industry, which offered the promise of stardom but also its own set of risks. Although the crown allowed her to escape, it also led to a life in which she would need to mature quickly and endure continual pressure to be flawless. Maureen's face was all over by 8 o'clock. She appeared in national advertisements for 2 of Mattel's most well-known dolls, Barbie and Chatty Cathy. Children in America were aware of her identity. Her family benefited from the money, but Maureen also had to maintain a positive public persona. These advertisements made her a household name in every living room, regardless of what was going on at home. She started to be recognized by Hollywood filmmakers as a natural for larger roles. She appeared to be the ideal American child because she was the face of popular toys. However, it also created high standards for her to meet. Television viewers had already taken to Maureen before she even became Marcia Brady. She appeared on popular sitcoms like I Dream of Jeannie and played a little role as Endora on Bewitched, My 3 Sons and Honey West. She was not simply another adorable child on television. Maureen demonstrated her ability to play a variety of roles. Hollywood people took note. She demonstrated that she was more than simply a gorgeous face. She learned how to deal with the challenging world of acting from her early roles. Maureen McCormick, a little child, took a risk in 1969 that would forever alter her life. She was just 13. However, she entered an audition room with 1,200 other kids who were all hoping to get accepted. Their shared desire was to play Marcia Brady in the upcoming television series The Brady Bunch. Maureen stood out because of her warmth, charm, and ability to make people feel as though they already knew her. She was given the job in that one moment, and she instantly changed from being just another girl to a member of one of the most well-known families on American television. Upon the debut of The Brady Bunch on September 26, 1969, Maureen instantly rose to fame. She was viewed by viewers as the ideal adolescent daughter, always pleasant, upbeat, and acting morally. She was the ideal girl in America's eyes. Although she was admired by everyone, Maureen was concealing a terrible reality. Her life was full of secrets at home. Her grandmother passed away from syphilis complications in a mental health facility. Her mom struggled with mental illness. Schizophrenia was diagnosed in both her brothers. None of this was known to anyone outside the family. Maureen was likewise having trouble keeping herself together as she grinned for the cameras. Things got much more complex as the show gained popularity. Maureen was 16 by 1973. At the age of 19, Barry Williams portrayed her brother Greg. They were siblings on film. However, they were unable to suppress their true feelings behind the scenes. A genuine adolescent romance developed out of their infatuation. They nearly crossed a line at one time, which nearly altered their entire relationship. Later on, Maureen claimed that her feelings for Barry were so intense that it was difficult to distinguish between Marcia and herself. No one who watched the show could have guessed the secret. They remained the ideal Brady children in the eyes of the world. The Brady Bunch was more than simply a television program during this time. It had become a phenomenon in pop music. The Brady Kids were a real band created by the cast. They toured the world and produced 4 albums. Producers were drawn to Maureen's singing voice. She made an album with Christopher Knight, who played Peter Brady, in 1973. It diffused some love and included tunes like Little Bird. Dick Clark even urged Maureen to go solo during her appearance on American Bandstand. For a while, it appeared as though she would be in for a whole different kind of work. However, the burden of her double life continued to grow even while she sang live. Maureen lived in 2 different worlds for 5 years. She was Marcia Brady on television. Perfect, happy, and healthy. However, she felt as though she was disintegrating in private. She suffered greatly from the stress of concealing her family's hardships. She started fighting bulimia. She began to take drugs. She felt as though she was gradually being destroyed by the deception she was living. Maureen was 18 when the Brady Bunch dissolved in 1974, and she had lost. She no longer knew who she was because the show that had given her meaning was gone. She was deeply affected by the cancellation. It left her feeling hollow without Marcia. She was unable to avoid the unsettling realities about her family, though. It was impossible to ignore the secrets she had kept for so long. Her despair worsened. The girl the world had adored as Marcia Brady was now struggling to stay alive and discover her true self behind the flawless facade that had brought her fame. At the end of the Brady Bunch in 1974, Maureen McCormick was just 18. She was still known to the world as Marcia Brady. Ideal adolescent. Behind the scenes, Maureen was nowhere to be found. The constant job and fame vanished almost abruptly. Marcia was the only one seen by casting directors. She was never given the opportunity to show that she was more. Her confidence eroded with each rejection. Painful family truths were revealed at the same time. Maureen learned that her grandmother had succumbed to syphilis while confined to a mental hospital. Maureen's mother had inherited the illness without anyone being aware of her father's adultery. An emotional detachment exacerbated the heartache. The secure, contented world Maureen had known seemed to have collapsed. She struggled to get out from Marcia Brady's shadow. She appeared as a guest on Happy Days, Harry O, The Streets of San Francisco, and Fantasy Island from 1974 to 1978. These were not minor components. In contrast to the charming Marcia, she portrayed a model who turned into a call girl on the streets of San Francisco. She demonstrated her talent, assuming emotionally charged and nuanced roles. However, despite her best efforts, she was unable to break free from her TV background. She wouldn't even be considered for bold roles by some producers. No one could see Marcia as a criminal, thus she was passed over for roles in Midnight Express. She was able to maintain her visibility with these guest stints, but they did not provide her with the breakthrough she desired. Maureen attempted to pursue a career in movies as well. She portrayed Rose of Sharon in the drama Pony Express Rider, which was set in 1861 Texas, in 1976. Moonshine County Express, a gritty action film released a year later, allowed her to depart from her idealized persona. She was Lorenzo Lamas' girlfriend in the high school wrestling drama Takedown in 1979. However, despite her adult positions, she was still perceived as a teenager. Even worse, she started to be followed by rumors of drug use. When she tried out for Raiders of the Lost Ark, she missed a huge opportunity. After 3 restless nights, she arrived elated and blew it. Although these films weren't successful, they demonstrated her determination to alter her course. The Love Boat was one location that offered her hope. She made 5 appearances between 1977 and 1982 in various roles. Each tale examined romance, exploration, or self-discovery. These incidents provided her with work and a little calm during a chaotic period. Her fans were thrilled to see her back, and the comfortable surroundings helped her forget about her problems. The show's kindness and upbeat themes resonated with what she was looking for in real life. The Love Boat became a haven for her when she was on the verge of being overtaken by depression and addiction. But things were collapsing behind the scenes. Maureen McCormick's drug nightmare started when she was just 18. It was 1974, and the end of the Brady Bunch seemed imminent. She was the ideal Marcia Brady on television, but her life was falling apart behind the scenes. Maureen fell straight into the shadowy corners that Hollywood's bright lights concealed. She spent evenings in what she described as glitzy drug dens above Hollywood by 1978, when she was completely engrossed in the world of cocaine. However, it was not glamorous in any way. Her life was controlled by cocaine for 5 years, from 1978 to 1983. Wasn't a gathering that it was a trap. She was unable to get away. In their desperation, her parents considered phoning the police to come to her aid. Her environment grew increasingly perilous as she descended farther. Later on, Maureen acknowledged exchanging sex for cocaine. It happened more than once. Desperation, not desire, was the driving force behind the repeated incidents. For one dealer, she even posed naked. She also exchanged narcotics for her body. Her spirit was destroyed by the shame. She claimed that she felt lifeless during those times. Unable to stop her from destroying herself, her parents' anguish just deepened. Maureen stated that she had to continue while cocaine was around. Days passed while she chased the high, losing track of food, sleep, and everything else. She once appeared at an audition for Raiders of the Lost Ark after going 3 days without sleep and used cocaine nonstop. She was a complete mess. The opportunity eluded her grasp. She was more broken with each binge. She sank farther the more she used. Her family, profession, and even personal health were no longer important. The next high was all that counted. Hollywood quickly stopped believing in her. She was not trusted by the producers. Casting directors ceased to call. She hid in a closet during the Brady brides because she was so high, hitting 3 days of the shoot. She also wrecked other opportunities, such as the audition with Spielberg. Later, she acknowledged that it was truly awful. Her formerly successful career was in ruins. Millions had loved the girl, but now everyone viewed her as a risk. Maureen experienced greater heartbreak between the ages of 18 and 20. 3 of her pregnancies were unintended. Abortion was the result. Later, when she talked about it regretfully, she said it demonstrated how lost she was. She was forced to make decisions she never would have thought to make because of the drugs and the pandemonium. The early 1980s had become a nightmare for Maureen McCormick. Her family was at a loss for what to do as her addiction worsened. They were afraid. They had made every effort to assist her, but to no avail. At last, Maureen was taken aback by her parents' decision. If she didn't obtain help, they threatened to call the police on their own daughter. Later, Maureen said, "My parents nearly made me a police officer. They had reached the end of their options. I could hide really effectively and was quite cunning." Their words weren't merely meant to frighten her. They meant business. She even heard her father say it directly to her. Their relationship was severely damaged by the incident. Despite their affection for her, they felt helpless. The daughter they knew had been altered by addiction. To save her, they were prepared to take any and all risks. Maureen's recuperation remained difficult even after that. She repeatedly attempted to escape. She made multiple trips to treatment in the early 1980s. Every time, she hoped that she would ultimately prevail in the battle. But she never realized how much addiction had gripped her. She experimented with many therapies. She even collaborated with a psychologist who promised outcomes, Eugene Landy. However, his methods made matters worse rather than better. Her problems were made worse by the fact that he gave her too many drugs. Maureen continued to tumble back. For years, Maureen McCormick's life had been a complete mess. Her cocaine addiction had destroyed her career, her health, and almost all of her relationships by the middle of the 1980s. She didn't anticipate that Michael Cummings would completely transform her life when she first met him. But that's precisely what took place. Michael never made a speech. He didn't use kind words to try to save her. He offered her an option that pierced through all of her denial with clarity and a razor-like edge. "It's either me or that," he murmured, glancing at her. "Accept that, or I'll leave." He meant it. And Maureen realized for the first time how near she was to losing something positive. She said it was the coldest shower she had ever experienced. She was awakened. It helped her realize that using drugs wasn't only destroying her. The first man who genuinely loved her was about to be taken away. Her sobriety was pushed by the shock alone. Michael's drawing of the line in the sand marked the start of her struggle to take back her life. By that time, Maureen had already experienced a great deal. She had struggled with bulimia, fallen into depression, and exchanged sex for drugs. Because they couldn't bear to see her ruin herself, even her parents had considered turning her into the police. But up until that point with Michael, nothing had worked. She understood that if she continued, she would lose the one item she had at last discovered that was valuable. She later claimed that she had never been prepared to put up such a strong struggle for anything. There was more to Michael's ultimatum than their friendship. The goal was to protect her from herself. She needed the harsh reality check, and it was effective. Every action she took to get better was based on that one moment. The date of their marriage was March 16, 1985. That day turned out to be pivotal in a number of ways. There was more to their wedding than just a party. It was a pledge to begin anew. However, things did not improve on their own overnight. Marriage's initial years were challenging. Maureen was still having trouble. She struggled with paranoia and sadness. She even made a threat to leap from a balcony directly in front of Michael at one point. He didn't give up on her, though. Being a child star, in his opinion, had stunted some of her growth, and he was committed to assisting her in getting better. Her marriage turned into a haven where she could finally begin to process the intense pain that had been the driving force behind her addiction. They were strengthened by their common faith in God. They confronted the gloom together and began to create something new. Her family joined that support as well. Watching her deteriorate had crushed their hearts. However, they reunited after her marriage. A team was assembled to support her, including Michael and a few close friends. Maureen frequently remarked that she couldn't have succeeded without them. They reminded her of the stakes every day. Their willingness to forgive her and the suffering she had caused them became strong arguments for continuing to abstain. She persevered despite the difficulties because of their love. Another crucial element of her healing was seeking expert assistance. Maureen finally worked up the guts to deal with counselors after so many unsuccessful attempts to become clean. The unpleasant realities of her past confronted her. Buried there was a great deal of grief. In a mental health facility, her grandma had passed away from syphilis. Her granddad had committed suicide. She also had a mother who had syphilis. She was a prime candidate for addiction and mental health issues due to the demands of celebrity and these familial tragedies. She faced it all with the help of therapy. She became aware of her triggers. And how to defend yourself giving up narcotics was only one aspect of Maureen McCormick's rehabilitation process. The goal was to discover a new way of living. She didn't believe in anything bigger than herself at first. She felt lost and hollow as her addiction worsened. It appeared as though there was no escape. Things started to shift gradually. She had the courage to seek assistance because of the love she received from her friends and family. They urged her to look for a more significant goal that would offer her hope. She began attending church. She went on spiritual retreats. She gradually allowed lessons to enter her heart, changing the way she viewed the world. She started incorporating meditation and prayer into her everyday routine. She found solace in these small deeds. They kept her composed and concentrated. Her strength came from her faith. She was able to face each day without reverting to her old habits because of it. This wasn't an easy solution. This inner calm helped her heal, but it took years for her to find it. With the birth of her daughter, Natalie, in 1989, everything changed. Maureen began striving towards a better future in 1985 when she married Michael Cummings. But more than anything else, Natalie's presence provided her a cause to remain resilient. Her goal was to provide a caring and secure environment for her kid. She wished to put an end to the suffering and mayhem that had characterized her own early years. Natalie hoped. She gave her an objective. Maureen was determined not to let anything derail her new life. She would not jeopardize the gift of motherhood. Following the conclusion of the Brady Bunch in 1974, Maureen McCormick's path was far from straightforward. Despite her quick rise to fame, she was stuck in the character of Marcia Brady after the show ended. She could not be perceived as anything else. She struggled with addiction and despair as a result of that pressure, as well as the weight of her early fame. Then, in 1988, a change occurred. She had a very Brady Christmas with her former co-stars. It was more than a job. Her recovery was aided by her reunion with the Brady family on film. The film's tale of a family coming together for Christmas after overcoming personal struggles struck a chord with viewers. It gave Maureen the opportunity to confront her past and at last come to terms with the part that had both shaped and almost destroyed her. She was reminded of her favorite aspects of the show by the warmth of those reunions. She started to accept the legacy that followed her everywhere rather than harbor resentment towards Marcia Brady. Maureen put a lot of effort into proving she was more than just a TV personality in the years that followed. She performed as Winnie Darling in Peter Pan on tour in 1983. This was a significant move. Playing Wendy demonstrated her ability to manage the entire new challenge of live theater. It was an opportunity to temporarily move on from Marcia and try something new. She then went one step further in 1994, appearing on Broadway as Betty Rizzo in Grease. Rizzo didn't resemble Marcia at all. She was defiant, strong, and fearless. Maureen was able to display a different side of herself in this role. Her career was rebuilt thanks to these performances, which also demonstrated to the world that she was not mired in the past. Maureen tried something entirely new in 1995. When You Get a Little Lonely, her debut solo album, was published. The album's tone was country, incorporating pop elements with traditional instruments like the fiddle and pedal steel guitar. Inspired by celebrities like James Taylor and Linda Ronstadt, she recorded it in Hollywood and Nashville. She had the opportunity to shed the Brady persona and share tales of love, grief, and development. The criticism was harsh. Although many questioned her decision to pursue country music, Maureen saw it as a personal triumph. Declined a cameo in the Brady Bunch film in order to concentrate on the album. Tell Mama and the album's title tune were made available as singles, and the album was reissued in 2008. It continued to be a significant part of her narrative. Maureen's struggles continued after that. She was prepared to confront her weight and depression issues in public by 2007. At 5 feet 3 inches, she became a member of VH1's Celebrity Fit Club. She talked candidly about how emotional eating during difficult times had caused her to reach 150 pounds. Losing weight was not the only goal of the show. Regaining her life was the goal. Maureen adjusted her eating habits, worked hard, and worked out 6 days a week. Winning Celebrity Fit Club was a new beginning. Many viewers at home benefited from her candor regarding weight and despair. It served as a potent reminder that everyone faces difficulties, including celebrities. Maureen presented her experience in its entirety in 2008. Here's the story. Her autobiography gained popularity and peaked at number 4 on the New York Times bestseller list. She exposed everything in 320 pages. Depression, addiction, the demands of public attention, and the never-ending pursuit of perfection. The book touched a nerve. Her candor struck a chord with many. Both critics and admirers commended her for exposing the harsh realities of celebrity. She began giving speeches at significant gatherings in 2009, such as the annual meeting of the American Psychiatric Association. She made it clear to everyone that mental illness is not a cause for shame. She raised funds and awareness by working with organizations including the Trevor Project and Mental Health America. She was often informing people that if they were having problems, there was treatment available and that it was an illness. She felt that the only way to get better was to talk about it. Many lives were impacted by her message. At 60 years old, Maureen took on a new adventure in 2016. In the 23rd season of Dancing with the Stars, she entered the show. Artem Chigvintsev was her partner. She pushed herself week after week. It was a difficult show. The competition was intense. Maureen, however, persisted, and she finished in 7th position. Her spirit was commended by the judges. She claimed that during her worst moments, it had appeared impossible for her to experience the sensations of beauty and floating. Dancing wasn't the only activity. It was about proving to herself and the world that she could overcome any adversity in life. Fans had a new perspective on her. She was no longer just Marcia. She fought. Maureen chose her projects carefully. She will perform in Pen Pals, an off-Broadway production, at the DR2 Theater in New York in 2025. August 15th through November 23rd is when it takes place. A portion of the proceeds from the play, which uses letters to convey the tale of a friendship, will support research into breast cancer. Maureen continues to advocate for causes close to her heart. She is cautious when it comes to the Brady Bunch. She claims that she will only do new concerts or reunions when people ask for them, if it's really unique. She cherishes what the show meant to viewers that much. She wishes to preserve its history. Inspired by her brother Denny, who has intellectual challenges, she also collaborates with her closest friends. She remained loyal to her core values, speaking up, giving back to the community, and building a meaningful life.